Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Saturday morning. Celtic don't play today, Celtic play tomorrow. And Martin O'Neill had a summit yesterday. Yes, he had a summit with the power brokers. And welcome back, Celtic fans. The power brokers at Celtic Park. Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay ended up at Celtic Park, allegedly, for a little meeting about the absolute tumbleweed of a transfer window as far as Celtic fans are concerned. The meeting comes at a key point this season where we are 17 days into the transfer window. Celtic have brought in one player on loan. That was under Wilfred Nancy. Martin O'Neill takes the team into the cup game this weekend, where he's going to use Mikel and Balak Wisha as a striker. Celtic will end up at the end of this window with Mikel and Balak Wisha as your number one striker. Think about that. He was brought in as a winger to take over from Dyson Maeda, who Celtic are going was meant to leave the club in the summer. Michelangelo Balakwisha was brought in to replace Dies Maeda. Dies Maeda didn't leave. Dies Maeda has not hit the form that he has in previous years due to the fact that he really wants away. Just says Stuart Dixon coming in there. Baz, when he played at NC, he played as the number 10, not as a winger. So why have Celtic? I mean, Celtic chased Michelangelo Balakwisha for 2 years. Why did we bring him in and use him as a striker? But anyway, play Sinisalo, Kenny, give the reserves some chances. Well, Johnny Kenny's been getting games. And I think that Johnny Kenny would be able to score against Auchinleck Talbot all day long tomorrow. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see if Michelangelo Balakwisha plays as a striker tomorrow in any part. But are we going to hold any hope for Celtic bringing in a striker? Celtic lost out on 2 strikers yesterday. Martin O'Neill says we're in badly need of a striker. There's been question. We're getting known as the interested in club. You know, Celtic are interested in, or we're linked with the CFC. The one thing that's for sure. So what about this transfer summit? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. All we know is that there was a meeting at Lennoxtown. There's been no further details leaked. We just know that there was a meeting in the training ground rather than the board ground, and it was to do with the transfer window. That's it. There's nothing else come out of it that we know of. Obviously, there'll be football matters inside that Martin O'Neill would have addressed. I think that the meeting took place. I think that the meeting took place before Martin O'Neill did the press conference. Because you look at Martin O'Neill's demeanour yesterday, and Martin O'Neill was pissed off. He was deeply, deeply pissed off. That wasn't Martin O'Neill who, if you look at the body language of Martin O'Neill, when he was here for the 5-6 weeks, do you know, he was living it, living life. And then you look at Martin O'Neill yesterday with the reality of having to deal with Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay on a daily basis. We know who the issue is and what the issue is at Celtic Park. It's Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay. They're the issues. How did a player fail a medical but pass the Sunderland medical? Exactly. Did you see the Sunderland social media? The player doesn't look injured to me. He's jumping about. He's It was quite an athletic. I mean, they were talking about there was an injury to his ankle, but t- but we just move on. You wonder what the board are up to when Sevco signed 3 players worth millions and we can't get one over the line. It's an utter disgrace of a board. Have the Celtic fan base shot themselves in the foot by not putting more pressure on the Celtic board, by taking a backward seat until Martin O'Neill was given the transfer window? We trusted the board. We were stupid. Celtic fans were absolutely just stupid. We played into the board's hands. The board brought it back Martin O'Neill. Tobias out injured for the next few months, surgery apparently. Well, the way he's jumping about yesterday on social media for Sunderland, didn't look like there was any surgery coming soon for that lad. Not at all. Not at all. And it'll be interesting to see if he goes into the squad this weekend for them. But anyway, we've put pressure on the board, Baz. They've chucked it. They've chucked us to the wind, mate. That's why they're fucking us over. Sure, we pushed. We didn't push hard enough. We didn't push hard enough. The pressure that was put on for Lowell to leave was seen as a win. And we then they brought back. We got rid of Wilfred Nancy. That was seen as a win. And then we took the foot off the pedal. Taking the foot off the pedal for 2 weeks has Martin O'Neill give the board a breather. Instead of breathing, the board has choked. Yeah, it has. It has choked. And the board are in the exact same position as they were under Brendan Rodgers, having meetings about transfers, about the transfer window not going their way. The Celtic fans now have a choice to make. And it's, we either ramp up some kind of protest at Celtic Park, or we just allow the board just to keep going. Because the board are neglecting their duties. It's easy for all to see. Offering Martin O'Neill mediocre players, Martin O'Neill turning them down, the board being inept in its ability to conduct transfer negotiations at a certain speed to get deals over the line. I've said it before, Celtic fans need to go back to what they did in the 1990s and protest out Celtic Park every single day. There has to be put forward. People work shifts, people are retired. There are people in Glasgow and the surrounding areas that were able to do it in the 1990s. They were able to sit outside Celtic Park and protest and let their feelings known. It doesn't have to be all day, but it can happen. Turning up at games and singing "Sack the Board," Michael Nicholson and co. do not give a shit about that. We've tried the Not Another Penny campaign. It seemed to be having a little bit of success. But then when you hear about that there's a queue for 45 minutes to get into the Celtic Sports Bar, I think that the Celtic collective need to come back together immediately. They have to have another meeting and get as many people back involved as possible, because the board are just getting away with murder. And they're going to drag us down. Since Lawwell told us to behave at the AGM, the board are putting the fans on the naughty step like Wayne's. Scrap this season, concentrate on getting the shambles of board out, and that's what we should be doing, full stop. We need to get in a new manager then now. Wait until the summer is too late. don't know. I can understand why the board went for Wilfred Nancy and they had the long-term vision, but he was the wrong person to pick. It was a panic station. It was a panic station decision. Don't know. Let's just get someone in. Let's think long-term. But anyway, the players looked at Nancy. O'Neill said that they didn't fancy them. We have now identified new ones as damning indictment. We said before what happened now. Nichols and Mackay are probably leaving in the summer, so don't care about the protests. You can't touch them. The summer, the damage is done by the summer. If they're leaving in the summer, ramp up the protest now, so that Celtic Park becomes a hostile place for them. I say it again, vote with their feet. You can vote with your feet. Your season tickets are paid for. No, we've not signed anyone yet. Haggis, Neeps and Tatties, hence the reason that we're talking about getting rid of this board, because there was seemingly a summit yesterday at Celtic Park, and between Martin O'Neill, Nicholson and Chris Mackay, and both those gentlemen are quite, I'm sure, they could wax lyrical about the fact that it's a hard job that they're doing. They're doing as much work as they can, and they just haven't managed to get the deals over the line. Piss off. You know, it's just negligence at this point. The board are runners into the ground. Yes, they are. And we can't wait until the end of the window. We might need a new manager on the 1st of February. No, Martin O'Neill will not leave the club. Martin O'Neill will not walk out of the club. He will never do that. He's not a Brendan Rodgers. Martin O'Neill will never do that. But anyway, Chris Sutton has taken to the media. Chris Sutton has taken to his column on one of the daily papers to say that Celtic are taking the piss out of Martin O'Neill. And it's the transfer shambles is making Celtic look like amateurs, said Chris Sutton. You have to hand it to Martin O'Neill, says Chris Sutton. He could easily have told Celtic where to go when they got back on the phone to him last week. Well, it's just over a week ago, isn't it? It's a week and a bit now. Instead, he answered the call and he's already steadied the ship again. Falkirk on Wednesday night was not pretty, but it was another victory, another clean sheet on the back of the Dundee United win. The problem that there's been all season was that still there plain to see. In contrast to the Wilfred Nancy team, O'Neill is making sure Celtic get results by whatever means necessary. Celtic are extremely fortunate that he was willing to step up in the hour of need. It's taken a huge effort to get things back on track, but when I hear about everything else that he's undertaking at the moment, there's one thing that jumps out. Celtic are taking the piss, says Chris Sutton. There's no other way to describe it. O'Neill has his work cut out, putting things right on the pitch, but to hear that he's also having to scramble around for players in the January window, work around the clock consistently watching videos, talking to agents, almost defies belief. It also throws up a lot of questions. The Celtic board haven't been great at answering them this season. That's for sure. Brendan Rodgers quit. No one came out to explain it. Apart from that infamous Dermot Desmond statement, a couple of cosy interviews on Celtic TV. There was no one with O'Neill when he was unveiled twice. And the same with Nancy came in. Similarly, there's been no official reason why Paul Tisdale has been sacked. It would be handy to get some answers. Like, what the hell's been going on for the last 6 months at Celtic? O'Neill is running around talking to agents, watching scouting reports, and so on. But it sounds like he's starting from scratch, says Chris Sutton. I still can't believe we are 2 weeks into the window and the striker hasn't already been in the building for a fortnight. Everyone knew it was beyond priority. It was an absolute must. Nancy should have had someone in the door on the 1st of January. O'Neill should have definitely had someone in by now. This is on the board. It's down to the interim manager of sheer luck. But Celtic board are just taking the piss. I have nothing but admiration, says Chris Sutton for O'Neill, his sense of duty to the club, but they're taking him for granted. It's like they've brought him back and asked him to sort out the entire place. That's a tremendous amount of pressure to put on one and stress on one man. Never mind a 73-year-old club legend who's doing them a favour. He could be sitting with his feet up, drinking Horlicks, watching westerns in the afternoon. You don't need to be that age to do that, Chris. I'm sure you do that. How Tisdale has gone. All the work that's been done in the previous year. Where's the list of players that have been watched, lined up for January? Chris Sutton goes on, unless it's been lobbed straight in the bin by O'Neill and Sean Maloney. It's just sheer incompetence by the board. Just sheer incompetence. Chris Sutton goes on to say in his article, it makes Celtic look amateurish. Where is the future planning? Where is the structure that Desmond said was working fine, and the previous transfer issues were purely down to Brendan Rodgers? Brendan Rodgers took the flak when he left. Brendan Rodgers was ridiculed by Celtic. Celtic aren't just sleeping at the wheel. They're sleeping on the job. And they're not listening to fans. The cessation of activity against the board has been an own goal by the Celtic fans. It's been a Liam Scales moment, putting it in the back of your own net. Celtic fans need to ramp it up. We need to put pressure on this board. We need to get rid of Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay, because those two people are the biggest issue that Celtic Football Club have going forward. And until that day happens, we're allowing them to get away with bloody blue murder at the club. Nothing will convince me that this too will be able to turn the club round. No statements by Dermot Desmond. No statements by the interim stand-in CEO, Brian Wilson, who has long overstayed his welcome at Celtic Park. I can remember being at an event with Brian Wilson and a politician who's supposedly Celtic minded and up for free Palestine. And it was during the independence debate. And at the end of the debate, I pulled Wilson up then, told him that he was taking the pure piss out of Celtic and that his time was overdue. He was a dinosaur at Celtic. And he said, this isn't the time and place for this, Sonny. But anyway, are you dreading the rest of the season? Baz, Nicholson and Mackay will leave at the end of the season. Anyway, mate, how do we know this? This is just hearsay. No one at Celtic has come out and said that Nicholson and Mackay are away at the end of the season. Why wait until the end of the season? The end of the season doesn't have any significance to when someone leaves their job in that type of position. They're not concerned on football matters. That is business matters. It is just pure online nonsense that the two of them are leaving at the end of the season. If they are leaving at the end of the season, put pressure on them to leave now. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. There was an online thing. Oh, Nicholson's going to resign on Monday. It never happened. Everybody was sitting waiting for 8 o'clock on Monday, and guess what? It never happened. I don't believe anything that is said online until it is verified that it's happening. Just, do you think he's also up for a free Iran? Yeah, maybe is. The board are not true Celtic people. Self-destruction by these dinosaurs. Yes, it is. It is that. They're toast at the end of the season, mate. Totally untenable. Yeah, it is. If they don't leave now, they leave Celtic in ruins. If it was me and you just weren't cutting the mustard, and you knew you weren't cutting the mustard. Doesn't matter if you're a Celtic fan or not. You sit back and you say to yourself, do you know, I wonder if there's someone that can do this job a little bit better than me. Don't know. And that's the hardest decision to make in any job. Never mind one that's paying you 900 grand a year. I mean, you can understand why they're just grasping on to anything to try and keep the job, because it's a fantastic amount of money. The board are pathetic and have their own agenda. They're not Rangers supporters. I don't think they are, but can I get a shout out from my boy Baz? It's his first game back after the winter break with Glenn Buck. There you go, Stuart. Nice one. The board won't spend money until they have a permanent manager in place. Well, Martin O'Neill's asked for short-term answers just now. He's asked for short-term issues to be solved. He's asked for players for us to win the league. If we do not win the league this year, this is down to the board. It's down to two people. It's not down to Dermot Desmond. It's down to Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay. We can go over the fact that Birmingham City publicly slated Michael Nicholson in August last year, September when the window closed. At the end of the summer transfer window, Michael Nicholson was publicly slated by several clubs about his inability to conclude transfer negotiations. Yet Dermot Desmond said, everything's fine. Everything's working just fine. The board probably still recalling Stephen Welsh count as a signing. Yeah, they probably do that. Apparently the Huns go straight into the Champions League if they win. Yes, hence the reason that they're spending crazy amount of money. They're getting a player on loan with an option to buy at 12 million. They're only bringing that option to buy in if they win the league. I don't know. It's absolutely bonkers. Nicholson wants to leave. He's always offered to resign. He'll be going at the end of the season. If he's offered to resign, why aren't we taking it? I don't know. Why are we keeping him on? The board are lying about how much money is available. That's why they're stalling on deals. They can't lie about that, mate. There's the money's in the bank. The money is it's been put out there in public knowledge. When you run a PLC, you know it's verified accounts. You know it is verified accounts. So you know we know the money's there. We know that they're not willing to spend. Martin O'Neill knows there's a transfer budget. Martin O'Neill said it's not the money. Money's not the issue. Martin O'Neill's been very clever. You know, he said in one of his interviews, it's not the budget. It's not the money that's not there. But Martin O'Neill will not turn around and say, well, it's those two fuckers up the stairs at Celtic Park. But anyway, that's enough about Chris Sutton. Whilst across the city, they're spending like it's just raining cash. And even if thinking about the summer, I mean, people are saying forget this season. If we forget this season and we keep the players, you've then got a massive rebuild because Callum McGregor will go in the summer. Rio Hatate will go in the summer. Dies Maeda will go in the summer. Sriracha won't spend the money on Sriracha. Kelechi Iheanacho will also have left the club. That's a rebuild that we need. And then there's players like Luke McCowan and everything that might be surplus to requirement. We're going to need to spend 40 million in the summer just to, we'll not even do that because we'll go down the road of buying mediocre £2 million players and then it is starting from scratch. We're then going back to as if we've just turned back time. So at this point, we just switch on the Cher song. If I could turn back time. Do, 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 do. could find a way, I'd get rid of the Celtic board today. I'd sack Desmond and fucking Lawwell. I'd kick Nicholson and the boys to hell. Chris Mackay, you're getting the sack. I want my Celtic back. Anyway, how's your Saturday morning? Celtic do have a game tomorrow. I'm going to turn that into a song. Should I write the lyrics to that? They're not spending much this season for that reason. Yes, this is very true. All right, we won't write the lyrics to that live on air. Spoil sports. It's back to the 90s. It is back to the 90s, but we have a game this weekend. It is 1 day, 8 hours, 18 minutes, and 0 seconds at this exact point until Celtic travel down the road to Kilmarnock. Yes, all the way to Kilmarnock to play against Auchinleck Talbot. Martin O'Neill looks as if he's going to play Mikael Ange Balak-Wisha as a striker. Yes, you heard that right. Martin O'Neill says that Balak-Wisha is never a winger, even though he was brought in for Daizen Maeda, who was meant to leave for big cash, but never. But Martin O'Neill says that he's more like a number 10, you know, and that's the reason that he hasn't started. So he's still in my thoughts, and he will get some game time. He wasn't in the squad in the last game because he had just came back from the African Nations Cup. So we'll wait and see what position Balak-Wisha does play. And when it comes to signings, you know, seemingly we've put a bid in for Bowie, but you know it's the Celtic way. We're not going to offer them big money. You know, we'll probably offer them. Tell you what, we'll give you 2 million just now, you're only Hibs. Just pay the cash, Celtic. Pay the cash. We are still we're looking at a player from Mitchell. And do you know what? I'm actually not even going to say about everyone that we're linked with, because we're linked with, we're interested in, we've inquired about. What about we've made offers? It's nothing that we've really heard about. But anyway, it's depressing as anything doing Celtic videos just now, honestly. It's you're on the verge of just going absolutely bonkers. You know, you're sitting and you're reading all the information that's out there, and you're just scanning the net for anything, and you're trying to find out bits of information, and at the end of the day, the board are just sitting there going, "You've got this money in the bank." Is Samaras free to play? We'd be as well bringing back Sammy. Don't know, but anyway, just like the boards at the old top table. Interested FC 1888. Honestly, I'd try Yang up front. He seems to be the only forward we've got that can win a header in the box. This is very true, but I think Yang will get some downtime this weekend whilst we try out some other players against Auchinleck Talbot. Why would anyone want to sign with the shambles at our club? We've got more links than an oh, Jesus. We've got more links than a butcher's sausage. The board are shitting it with the wage bill. That's why they're not spending. Yes, I've said that before. The wage bill is the wage bill needs to reduce. 74 million of a wage bill, far too high. We need to get, and I don't think it's just the wage bill is because of the full company. You know, the wage bill isn't just the players. Well, that takes us up a big part. But the wage bill seems to have went up. And yes, I know that people want more wages and stuff, but 74 million is absolutely crazy. Crazy. Anyway, thank goodness for mutes. Bring back Lee Griffiths. I think is he still playing football in Australia, or has he got into training? I know that he's loving life down in Australia, and he's not coming back to Scotland anytime soon. I don't blame him, to be honest. Looking at, interested in, same old piss every single day. Just sign some players, says Martin. Yang will become the number 9 eventually, so an excellent idea to try him as a striker. Yeah, you could try him as a striker. So I'll get the match speed up for a laugh. At this rate, we'll be asking Henrik to come back as player manager. Why did we sign Yamada? I have no idea, because anytime that he's came on, he's not the answer for Celtic. And anybody that says Yamada's the answer, he's useless. Young's bird needs to become invisible midweek. Young's bird needs to come. He was invisible midweek. Yeah, he was that. Paying themselves more. Yeah, I mean, when you're paying 900 grand, including bonuses. There's one thing that Nicholson will be getting all his bonuses this year. No, there's nothing legally you can do about it. It's the club will say that they're doing everything the right way. It's the inability of the club to speak to the fans, speak to the media. Chris Sutton went on about it. He said, "Look, when Martin O'Neill come back, there was no one." But Martin O'Neill came in as stand-in manager. He was put in front of the media himself. When Wilfred Nancy came in as permanent manager, there was no one from the board with him. The board are hiding. And we need them out. You know, winter time is coming to an end. Hibernation season's over. Come out and face the music. Talbot are being involved in some sort of match fixing thing for the game tomorrow. Yep, probably how many goals they'll give in. Griffiths is playing in Perth in Australia. That's good to know. I know he's still down there. How are you this morning, Chris? Hope you're good. What's the wage bill without Champions League football? I bet it's considerably less this year. No, it's the exact same. You can't take money away from players because there's no Champions League football. You know, players don't go on a bigger wage if you're in the Champions League and a lower wage. Can you imagine your job? You know, if we get this contract, you're on a bigger wage. If we lose the contract, you're on a less. Fuck off. Not a chance. Not a chance. He's as fast as Maeda and as deadly as Kyogo. That's Super Shin Yamada. Allegedly. If we lose tomorrow, it's not going to happen. It's not going to like Talbot. Imagine the protest then. 40 million loss if we don't qualify for quality. It's not a 40 million loss. It's 40 million down in the accounts. A loss only comes if you're overspending. We're 40 million down this season, but it's not a loss because we've never gained the money. It just means that we're paying too much in wages, so the profitability of the club will then decrease in vast numbers this year. Desmond is a billionaire. If I was a billionaire, I would spend on buying Celtic players. You can't do that, Vincent, because of fair play. Rivaldo's been spotted at the Brazen Head. Breaking news. He's coming. He's coming round the road. We need Dominic Mackay back. He was the most honest man to ever have stepped into Celtic Park in an official capacity at boardroom level. And the board got their way and they chased them out the job. I'd like someone to... Do you know what? See these journals out there and all the Celtic media guys that are journals. Go and track down Dominic Mackay and get an interview with him. And find out what really happened. Or has he been made to sign a little agreement, a little payoff? Chris, you're going to leave the club for pastures new. We'll lace your palm with gold if you sign this document, never to talk about what happened at Celtic Park. a bit like what happened with Brendan Rodgers when he left to go to Leicester. Go to Leicester, sign this contract. You can't talk about what's happened. Exactly happened back in 2009, 2000 league. This board ahead once again. Yes, shareholders need to demand an AGM. Do you think the board without football team, that's the jobs that would actually exist? Jed, we should get Sutton to work with young Kenny up front, teach him a thing or two. Chris Sutton's got enough on his plate. He's not going to get in. He doesn't want to get into the day-to-day training of football. He's not interested in that. He's more interested in doing his Sky stuff, doing his stuff every weekend at Celtic events all around the country. That's far easier work than getting your hands dirty, and getting the tracksuit on like Martin O'Neill and having to put in real physical work. That's way easier ways to make money. Chris Sutton will tell you. I know only would be worse than Willow Flood. I don't think he's that bad. The board wanted to sell Maida. Alex Fisher found at this window, and I don't know. No bonus money. Yeah, there'll be no bonus money for anybody this year. Taking bets on yellow cards, apparently. Got a screenshot of their team's WhatsApp last night. I just love Scottish football. What on earth is the scouting system world class in? We do everything world class. No, we don't. Chris Sutton, scathing attack in the media today. McGregor will be 33 in the summer. That's hang your boots up time near enough for McGregor. I think McGregor's got 2 years left after this year. McGregor goes in the summer, and all the other players go in the summer that I'm expecting to leave this summer. The next manager, we will not get into Europe next year. That's my early prediction. Because we will wait far too long. We know that we need a manager. We will wait until the World Cup has started and finished, and then try and go into negotiations with someone that's managing at the World Cup, only to be told that, nah, I don't fancy it. Rather than talking to that manager just now and saying, look, would you fancy coming to Celtic after the World Cup? No, it's not the Celtic way. We'll just wait. It's like the Celtic board are back in an after party of a rave in the 1990s. You'd been out all night and you've had the time of your life, and this is the last 10 years. They've been out and they've had the time of their life, and you've got back to the after party, and you're sitting down and you've got the what time is it? And you're looking at your watch, and it's 7:30 on a Monday morning, and you're thinking, oh, I've got to go to work. And then you're like, fuck it, it's Monday club style. And then you just put it off. And you phone your boss and you're like, yeah, I'm dying, mate. I've been up on it, been sick. And then you just get on it on Monday, and then, thank goodness there was no social media then that photographed you down at Brewers Fair on a Monday morning getting your breakfast and then phoning your mate that delivers stuff. That's what the Celtic board are doing. They're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs going, what day is it? 17th of January. How the fuck did that happen? Last thing I remember, it was the 1st of January we were bringing in the bells. Now it's the 17th. Fuck have we been doing? That's what they're sitting like. It's like they popped a couple of E's from the 1st of January and they woke up on the 17th and they went, fuck hell, we were meant to have a meeting with Martin O'Neill. Shit. And then they went to the meeting yesterday with Martin O'Neill and said, right, what's happening? You've not got as any frigging players in yet. Players? Did we have transfer talks? Shit. Oh, God, I was meant to phone that guy. I was meant to phone this club about that player you wanted. Oh, sorry about that. It didn't happen. That's an absolute joke, man. You would get sacked. I don't know, if it was any other job, you'd get sacked. We're the worst club in Britain, Baz. Yes, that. We're 40 million down because we didn't want to spend. Oh, the irony overload. This is very true. Shin Yamada, all the speed of Schmeichel. finishing in finishing power of Cascarino. Oh. It's a disgrace. Stressing out a 73-year-old man coming back to do him a favour. Yeah, I'm 65 and I could run out. I could outrun Kenny. Oh, Jesus. Come on. When are CCV and Johnson back? Cameron Carter Vickers is back next season, and Alistair Johnson's back at the end of March. It's too late. It's too late. Don't know. I bet you Martin O'Neill who called the meeting with the two dummies. Yes, I think so. Dominic didn't go far. He's only at the Hydro. Is he? Why is he at the Hydro? Is he running the show? Is he taking on an executive job at the Hydro? Hmm. Uh, we will get the result against Hertz. Chin up. That's what happens next. Getting a minimum of 4 players, what we needed. I said before December, I said we needed a minimum of 6, 7 players in, just to get the squad in a good place. I said that under Brendan Rodgers, I said it under Wilfred Nancy, and I said it when Martin O'Neill came in. We needed a minimum of 7 players. Baz, when your hangovers and come downs last until Wednesday, then it's time to stop partying. That's why I just thought, yeah, mate. Tuesday, it was like back to work on Tuesday. That's when I knew it was time. That's when I kind of stopped. When you're like, I was a labourer on a building site, so it didn't really matter. It wasn't really an important job. But the brickies had taken umbrance to the fact that I'd never turned up on a Monday. I don't know why. Something about compo. no getting their compo for their bricks. What the fuck were you on Monday? Don't know, man. Can't remember. There are no more Dermot Desmond's puppets. They are Dermot Desmond's puppets, and they're not fit for purpose. We need people to come in and not be puppets to Dermot Desmond and run the business like it should be ran. But anyway, the game's a bogey, says Helen. Stuart Slater. Yeah, we get him back as well. I'm absolutely dying. It's the 17th already. What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm telling you, the two of them have been on a bender. Do you know what happened? They've walked. This is what's happened. I figured it out. Nicholson and Mackay went on a wee walk around Celtic Park, right? And they got round to 111. And they went into where the Green Brigade put all their flags and stuff. And they found somebody's stash. And they went, what's this? It's fucking. What's this bag of stuff? It's fun. Oh, hey! That's it. They found a wee bag of stuff. They thought it was proper, and it tended out to be magic. And then they got lost, and then they just figured out, oh man, what happened? But anyway, that has been done and dusted for this morning. Yeah, Chris Mackay is CEO of the Hydro, I believe. Talking about raves, there was some noise here with locals last night. It says Irishman and Porto. Yeah, was it not? There was some. Yeah, there was a fiesta down here somewhere. Fireworks, some Saint Anton or something. I can't remember. Don't know. They celebrate that many saints here. You lose count. It's just the way that they do it. Anyway, can't believe I left school 10 years ago. Life goes so quick. The Green Brigade have kidnapped the board. Here's hoping. Now, why would you do that? Why would you kidnap the board? What are we going to hold them to ransom for? Anyway, see you later. Have a fantastic day. I will be around later on, some point this afternoon. See if there's. Better not give them ideas, no, you better not. We'll see the full-time results as they come in today, and maybe hopefully if there's a little bit of good news for Celtic. And I don't think that there will be. I think that we're going to be we're interested, we're noted interested, and we're going to bring in loan players and play Balakwisha as a main striker. But we are seemingly going to bring in. Oh, you're in Saudi. Yeah, I don't believe. Yeah, it wouldn't have been any Saints if you were in Saudi, would it? Anyway, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.